All right, so I'm gonna talk about this Mandela effect and what I think about it. Now, this is a theory I haven't really seen it covered. Um, I haven't seen anybody talk about it like this, so I'm curious as to what y'all think. Like I said, it's just a theory, just some things I put together with timelines and circumstantial evidence, I guess is what it would be called. But I have a theory that the Mandela effect, Chernobyl, so nuclear energy, um, as well as possibly Stargate. I have a feeling that these things are more linked than we've been led to believe. So, first and foremost, I don't think the Mandela effect is an illusion that we're all misremembering things. I think that's asinine. I don't think there's any way we're collectively misremembering so many things. Um, Especially when we remember like specific details that match. You know what I'm saying? Um, so the only real significant tie would be, or how I was able to tie these things together would be the dates. Um, so for starters, the Mandela effect, a lot of people remember him dying in prison in the 80s. So the 80s. Um, Chernobyl happened in 1986, if I'm remembering correctly. So there's a similar timeline already getting started here. Then we had the 3 Mile incident. I don't remember when that was, but I'm pretty sure it's probably coincides with the timeline. So if we all thought Mandela died in prison in the 80s, Chernobyl took place in 1986, and then things really started to kick off. So if you look at the significance in the events that have transpired since the 80s, I think we can all kind of agree that things are strange, right? This is when the computers, and then you link it to Stargate. So the Stargate program started in 1977. They ran it until about 94, 95. Um, so it kind of, things are kind of lining up here. And then you think about how the Stargate program continued, right? So it ended in 94 and or 95, and then they did spin-off programs. There were quite a few of those. We all talk about how we remember these things in school, these things that we were doing in school that I don't think they do anymore. So we all kind of remember these events or these things happening. Now this is where things get sketchy. So we all noticed that during 2020, right? If, is anybody familiar? You guys might be familiar with 2020 because of COVID, right? We all remember 2020 because of COVID. But something else important was also happening in the year 2020, and that is the Earth was spinning faster. So this feeling of time going fast, or we all kind of feel like we're in a dystopian or we're in this upside down. Um, Things feel off, like everything kind of feels off, everything kind of feels artificial, everything kind of feels weird, right? People don't seem the same. Um, a lot of big, strange events taking place. Now, this isn't to say that, nothing in the world is new. Everything under the sun has been done, all that jazz. But in the same respect of time speeding up, this feeling that we're running out of time or things are moving faster or everything just seems kind of out of place, right? And I find it ironic that the same year that we've noticed the earth is spinning faster is the same year they sit us all down. The same year we have COVID, where we all have to shelter in place, which I remind you is the first time. That's never happened. We've never seen that in history. So that's alarming by itself, much like during 9/11. That's alarming, right? You know, these things are monumental, first ever, groundbreaking things that we're all a part of. Um, so this is historical significance, right? Um, and I really just started diving into this because I felt like it was pretty significant that the same year they sit us down is the same year that recorded the fastest days in history, right? So we had the most shorter days in history in the year 2020. That's the same year that we got sheltered in place. And I find that alarming. I find it alarming um, for many reasons. And if you know anything about time, right, or the perception of time, or the thought of time travel, or time warps, or dimensional tears, or anything like that, it seems strange to me that both the Mandela effect and Chernobyl happened in the same decade. So it's kind of strange to me if we all think Nelson Mandela died in the 80s and Chernobyl happened in the 80s, and then we fast forward to all the things we've seen since the 80s, all the first evers. You know, I've said in my previous video that you know, we're the generation that saw the computer get introduced into the households on a mass scale, you know, as like a thing, like a television, right? Um, we're the first generation to see our country get attacked on our soil. Um, we're the first generation to see a pandemic make us all shelter in place, and we literally watched the world stop. Um, and there's a lot of money at stake there, right? So it's strange to me. Um, and we're the first generation to kind of see this AI takeover, right? So it seems to me like they're trying to manufacture something that they're losing, right? That something that we're losing. And I don't know what that means or what, you know what I mean? I have no clue what the future holds. I mean, me personally, I think we're on the verge of a revolution, or we're on the verge of another large event that's going to take place. I mean, I guess you could say the Epstein files, but come on. Um, I don't really think anything's going to amount to anything out of that. I don't know what you guys think, but I look at it this way. So, and this isn't to, you know, break off the video because, you know, this is supposed to be about the Mandela effect, but all these things for the Mandela effect are things that we're misremembering within the same timeline, misremembering, things that are changing. So what I feel like is we're caught in this dimensional shift, like we're caught in this crossover between two worlds. You know what I mean? Simultaneously kind of happening in different, like slightly different timelines. Um, and I feel like this is why you have a lot of people who are waking up. I think this is why we're getting like this mass like consciousness going on. I feel like that's why you have a lot of people who are tapping into their gifts. They're getting access to their gifts as far as like uh what the Stargate program was all about. That's why I brought it up here, because I feel like it's significant to the Mandela effect, along with um, the nuclear situation. So when the question is posed, do you think Chernobyl had an impact on global warming, or do you think Chernobyl and this rush for nuclear energy and all these nuclear tests that have been done, and do you think that that has something to do with this strange dystopian world that we're living in, or this mass event of the Mandela effect, right? Where we're all kind of noticing everything strange. We're being told we're not remembering stuff properly on a mass scale. That doesn't make any sense. And now you have people coming out saying, you have a lot more people saying that, talking about things that are these aren't new things, by the way. Like Stargate program, this isn't some new phenomenon, like the power of intention, how powerful your energy is as a being, how powerful your thoughts are. And I'm not talking in the cliche of the law of attraction, because a lot of this stuff has been pimped out for money. So a lot of this stuff, it gets marketed and used and discredited and smeared for money gain. And this goes back to my previous statement about how, we're worshiping false idol as a world, not just as a country, but we worship the dollar bill, right? So if you believe in God and Jesus Christ, you're part of it, right? You're part of this idol worship. So that's a problem right there. We pretend to be a Christian nation, but we worship the dollar bill. Everything's about money. And if you look at the CIA, a lot of people will say that telepathy is fake. A lot of people will say that clairvoyance is fake. A lot of people will say that manipulating things with your mind is fake. Like all these things are fake, right? Fake, 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 fake. Because it's too hard for people to understand. It's too hard for people to believe, right? But then in the same respect, a lot of these same people believe in God. They believe in Jesus. I don't know about you guys, but when I read the Bible, which I do, by the way, there's a lot of mysticism going on in the Bible. That's just me. That's just how I see it. And in the Bible, it said, be Christ-like. Now just calm down for a minute. What does that mean? What could Christ do? Think about all the beautiful, unbelievable, fantastic things that Jesus Christ did. So we were told to be Christ-like, right? We weren't told to be Christian. You won't find that in the Bible from God. God did not tell any of us to be Christians. He told us to be Christ-like. Okay? And this video isn't about the Crusaders, because I'll do a whole nother video on that. And the manipulation of the Bible for power and control, much like the dollar bill, much like this tech that we hold in our hands every day. I'll do a different video on that. But what I'm just saying is, stop letting them brainwash you into disbelieving everything that you can't explain. Okay? A lot of people worship God, but they worship science and reality because they only believe what science tells them to believe. Okay, I understand that. Science is important. But science also gets a lot, and I mean a lot, of things wrong. And these aren't just things that science gets wrong, that they get wrong in the study part of science. No, they get it wrong when it's published. They've gotten it wrong when it's been put in our science books. That's why amendments get made to our science books. Who remembers getting different updated versions of their science books? Well, let me explain to you. It's not just because the curriculum changed. It's because they had to amend things in the science books or redact things from the science books because they got things wrong. With new knowledge came new insight, came new discovery, came change, right? So just remember that and don't be so gullible, okay? to believe everything that some man says because he's a scientist. Okay, that's not it. Rely on yourself, become self-reliant, research for yourself, tap back into your critical thinking skills, and stop thinking you're not worthy of learning valuable information, first time information, new information. Okay. And if we could put down the hate and the knee-jerk reaction and all the stuff people do in comments and bash and slander and just make fun of, it's so why we are where we are, right? Philosophy's dead. Theology is dead. And that's a detriment to us. If you watch movies from the past, around like World War I, World War II, and see what the college landscape was back then. The bread and butter were the philosophers, the people who were making their own theories, the people who could critically think and think outside the box. They were the gold of society, right? Well, that's changed, and it's been changed because they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to think for yourself. They don't want you to think critically. They don't want you to come up with new ideas. They don't want you to have new discoveries. They don't want you to be smart and intelligent. They don't want you to be spiritual. They don't want you to be tapped into your gifts. And this is what you're seeing, right? They want us all dumb. They want us all blind. They want us all infighting. They want us all to be followers. That's it. They don't want leaders. Okay. That's why the political landscape stays the same, because it's not built on leaders. It's built on followers. It's built on money and greed and control and a bunch of other sick things that we should have been known, but So this is more of a video. This isn't me telling you anything. This is more of a video of me saying, I found this interesting. What do you think? Because I find it ironic that we all thought Nelson Mandela died in the 80s. Chernobyl happened in the 80s. I find it ironic that most of the things that we are misremembering are from that same timeline. I find it strange that Stargate kind of links to this similar timeline. It kind of all is in this same timeline, right? And I mean, you could argue it's repetitive. You know what I mean? Maybe some older people know some things and they have some of their own theories that they worked on, and they have and I'm encouraging it. I want people from the past to come out and share information, but I just think that this is kind of the trajectory that we've always been on. And if you look at the landscape today, it makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of people argue, and this is to get back to the point, that a lot of people will argue that, the global warming has been made worse because of nuclear energy, but not because of nuclear energy, because when Chernobyl happened, everybody got scared and we kind of stayed with the fossil fuel because we were scared of a Chernobyl happening on a bigger scale, or we got scared of Chernobyl or something like Chernobyl being the end of us. You know what I mean? Like fearing that type of energy. I can see the argument for that. But at the same time, if you understand nuclear energy better than I do, because I don't, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I do, in a way where I can really articulate to you more proof about this, but I just find it more than ironic that the Mandela effect starts around the same time as the Chernobyl incident. And then pretty much since then we've been on this tear, right? This upside down feeling where you had all these the mass acceptance of like dark entertainment, dark media, the occult, violence, drugs, all the things that are put on the forefront. And then you have all these strange occurrences, 9/11. You have more conflict than ever, honestly. It's like people talk about World War, but like kind of we've always been at war, right? When have we not been at war? And could you link the Cold War in with Chernobyl and the Mandela effect, maybe? Because it just seems strange the way things kind of line up, much like Vietnam, LSD, and MK Ultra, right? And I'll probably do a video on that too later. But it's all kind of, it was just something that hit me, you know what I mean, where I was just like, wait a second, because I saw this thing about how the earth was speeding up, and I've kind of always felt that way, like things are speeding up. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Art Bell, but I look up to him greatly, and I'm not afraid to say so. You know, like I really admire that guy for what he did for radio. I admire what he did for information, and I respect a lot of his work. He had a lot of credible guests on. And if you guys are into this kind of information, he is a godfather in this arena. And I will tell you, I recommend to you that you go dig through his catalog, and you'll be like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? You'll see how much this stuff is credible that I'm saying to you. You'll also see how much a lot of these people that you see today that get pushed down your throat and you're kind of wondering why. It actually, and I said this in my last video, it's actually frustrating to see the amount of people. And it's only because of the responsibility factor, right? I feel like if you're a platformer or you're an influencer and you have a huge following, you owe them to do your homework. You owe them. If you're coming up here and you're going to start talking about things in a factual manner, like this right here, I said, I want to know what you think. This is the thought I had. This is a theory I have. So I'm not sitting here telling you this is what it is. I'm not doing that. But they have a duty to be thorough with their information that they're going to provide to their audience. So it's frustrating when I know things and I've experienced things. I shouldn't have more information than these people that we're all watching right now, right? I should know more about these topics than what they do. And I understand that that's not necessarily true, but it's also a cautionary tale to the audience that don't put these people up on a pedestal. You can admire them, you can appreciate them, but still, no matter what, I don't care if it's a teacher, a doctor, or who it is, still go out and look for yourself. Still go out and do your homework. Still go out and do your research. And you might bring something to the table. You see what I mean? This is what I mean by like collaboration. I believe wholeheartedly in collaboration. There's tons of people out here who know way more than I do in the gifted arena, as far as what I'm telling you about the power of intention and just how real that is. Okay. A lot of people like to get on here and talk about witchcraft and devil worship and God and praying to Jesus and all that. But as the vessel, as the being, as the brain, the heart, and the soul, What matters the most when you do any of these things is your intent. It don't matter what you say. It matters what your intent is. Right? So understand that it is very real. Just like your mind, how powerful your mind is. Your brain is the biggest computer in the world. It's the most powerful computer in the world. And as a race, and I mean species, we know very, very, very little about it. Very little. I mean, look at the new discovery with pro wrestling and football and CTE, right? Look how long it took them to even be like, hey, we should probably be more careful about this stuff, right? And I said in my previous video that I have a brain disease, right? And I didn't know I had it. It was congenital. I wasn't diagnosed with it. It's something I just found out within the past couple years, right? So there was a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to be doing as a child that I participated in that was damaging to my brain. And this is why it's important. This goes to show how much we don't know and how much we don't need to worship science like a god, because it's not. It's man. Not be so gullible. And the importance of the Mandela effect and COVID as related to this is that should have been the wake-up call right there. You can't just, for the ones who weren't already awake to it, because a lot of us were, we already knew from the jump. That's why we didn't get the shots. That's why we didn't, like, we were cautious because, like, what if it's real? We need to be cautious. And I'm not saying COVID wasn't real, and I don't want to, I never want to, I know a lot of people lost a lot of important people to them, and my mom died right before COVID, so I don't really know. Who knows, right? I mean, how many people might have died before the shutdown, and and it could have been that, right? So who knows, really? But what I do know is that we got lied to about a lot of things, and that's more the point I'm trying to prove. I'm not going to get on here and debate about what the virus was, where it came from, or none of that. I have a theory that's related to parasites. So a lot of people were saying, like, take ivermectin. Okay. But like the Mandela effect, and this is why I'm going to talk about this part. Like the Mandela effect, I was talking with some people of mine, and much like the Mandela effect, do you guys remember when we were kids, parasites were like a real thing, right? I remember specifically. I mean, I can't speak for y'all, but I know me and my sibling, we got diagnosed and treated for worms and parasites and things when we were kids. And anybody who has pets should know the real, very dangerous effects of parasites. But I find it ironic that over the past maybe probably like 30 years, 20, 30 years, especially like once we got into like past the 2000s, like once we kind of got into the 2000s, like the 2010s, maybe, nobody talks about it. Doctors don't even acknowledge it. They don't even. And then all of a sudden COVID happens, right? So it's kind of strange to me that I can remember as a child being treated for parasites. I can remember as a child my sibling being treated for parasites from their doctors, their pediatricians. I can remember them being like that was like one of the main things that they would ask about, right? Or bring up, or if you had a parent who had pets and had any common sense, that they'd bring it to the doctor's attention. And it was something that they really focused on as far as like your health care. But then we just watched it disappear. Like the doctors never bring it up. They don't seem to think it's a thing. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not something that even gets put on the list for when we're trying to diagnose somebody or trying to help somebody anymore, right? Um so I just find it odd. And ironically enough, then after COVID, like everybody's pushing this parasite thing. Parasite, 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 parasite. Yeah, no shit, right? Because if anybody wants to look into what like parasites from cats or dogs or anything can do to you, to your brain, so back to the brain, it's ridiculous. It's scary. You know what I mean? You how many think about it like this. How many people in the mental health field are diagnosing people with mental illnesses? And these people could be showing signs of a parasitic infection. Because if you look at um, some of the mental health diagnosis, and if you look at some of the side effects of parasites in your system, they kind of coincide. So I'm just saying, be careful out here. Don't, be your own best doctor, be your own best preacher, be your own best everything. Because at the end of the day, you came alone, you're going to die alone. And that's just the way it is. This is your spiritual journey. This is your walk. Yes, we have community. Yes, we have family. But the most important walk is the one you take on your own journey. So never lose the individual. And much like we need to collaborate, it needs to be a collaboration of individuals because that's what brings the best results. If we all think the same, do the same, believe the same, buy the same, then ain't no sense in us being together about anything because we're all the same. And I feel like that's more so what this era here is all about. That's where, like in one of the other topics I covered, all that labeling, that's where all that comes into play. So just consider that. But yeah, I really want to know what you guys think about this tie-in to um, the nuclear incidents that took place in history, the Mandela effect, and this strange loop of time that we feel like we're all stuck in. This strange, like, upside down world that we feel like we all live in. This weird, like, dystopian alternate reality where everything feels strange. Everybody seems off. A lot of people are talking about NPCs, people being NPCs, but I think it's more so about just this. And the ones who can't break away, they can't get out from under that. You know what I mean? I feel like if we could really slowly start to spread the people who are talking about these things, who think these things, who feel these things, and the people who have the history where they've put a lot of time and research into it, like I have, because I've put hours and hours, and I mean hours, my whole life has been dedicated to these kind of topics. And the thing is, like, a little bit about my background as far as like childhood is concerned. Like when it sounds funny, but when I was a kid, I wanted to be president. I wanted to be president of the United States when I was little. I really admired JFK, and I really did have a sense and a want to improve the world. Because how I grew up, I suffered as a child in a lot of ways. And that's not what this video is about. And I don't even know if I ever do that video. But it didn't make me want to hate people. It made me want to save the world because I don't know if, like I said in my last video, we don't know how many people from the 80s and 90s could be on the spectrum because it wasn't a thing. Nobody was talking about it. It didn't have the mass attention or the mass exposure. But I literally would see problems like a glitch in society that were easily fixed, and it made so much frustration inside of me that they just couldn't be fixed. Like, why can't they just fix these simple problems? It seems so simple to me, right? And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, right? Well, now that we're all grown-ups, we all know it can't be fixed because it doesn't want to be fixed because it's made like that by design. Just like how now the Mandela effect, like, is it really just a Mandela effect or is it the truth? You know what I'm saying? Are we remembering the truth? And then what's the motive to lie? What's the motive to go through and change everything? What's the point? What did they gain from it? So is it sabotage and a magic trick, or is it something that is even outside of their power, right? Because that's what we know about them the most, is they want to have the ultimate power and control. So anything that comes along and threatens that, they have to over control. They have to step in and do a whole bunch of weird shit to regain their control, or to have control over this thing that they're not meant to control. Or the explanation could be they feel responsible, right? And they're afraid. Because I look at it like this, okay? So think about it like for the CIA, your government, shadow government, men in black, whatever you want to call whoever, just the billionaires and the people that they employ. Um, but if we're all kind of afraid, or if we're all like, man, what the hell is going on, right? What is this world is weird. And if we're all being shocked and blown away and concerned and scared for our kids about the stuff that we're witnessing, or the things that we're catching on to, or the things that we see and we know, imagine what they think. Imagine what they know. You know what I mean? It makes me think about the movie like Burn After Reading, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that movie, but they kind of paint the government like these secret government organizations. They kind of try to show you that they're like dumb, like they don't really, like we all think it's these like big plans and these big like conspiracies and these big things. First of all, I hate the word conspiracy, because we're all finding out that that's just to discredit the truth. But they try to paint it out to be like, oh, we're really not that smart. You guys give us way too much credit. You guys, we're just regular people. We get stuff wrong. We don't know what's going on. We're just regular people. Yeah, okay. But I feel like it's a mix of that. I feel like it's a mix of that and extreme calculation, high intelligence, and a lot of calculation. I mean, you got to think, in a lot of these organizations, they only hire the best of the best. So it's not that innocent. That's just to me, that's just an attempt to throw their hands up, not take accountability for what they actually do. And who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Maybe one day we'll find out that they are dumb. And maybe one day we'll find out that they are kind of innocent and they're trying their best. But I highly doubt that. And if you look at what's happening in the world right now, then that should tell you right there that that's not what it is. You're not innocent. It's not, oh, what is this all about? I have no clue. Oh, hide the body. We don't know. We just got this mess now. No, that's not what it is. They know exactly what they're doing. Because if you have everyday people out here saying that, uh, I can manipulate things with my mind and I'm starting to figure that out, or I can will things to happen and I'm starting to figure that out, or my intentions and my thoughts manifest and it's blowing me away and I don't really have control over it, so I don't really understand it. Um, but it's really shocking me, right? Just the fact that it's happening. And I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing this. I'm sure a lot of you are remembering things like this from your childhood. Um, and there might have been a lot of you that just held on to this and kept quiet because you were afraid of being made fun of or being called crazy, or, well, this is the, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but right here, I welcome it. I love it. I want to hear about it. You know what I mean? Because I know it's true. I know it's real. Um, not just from my experiences, but because of, like I said, about the Mandela effect. If I say a thing and I don't know this person from a can of paint and they say the same thing and I get to view that naturally, then it's like there's something to this. You know what I mean? I'm not just crazy. I'm not just some secret prophet in the closet that's afraid to come out because I might get made fun of or killed or arrested or whatever. You know, it's just par for the course. They do that to people every day too. The gang stalking thing, everybody thinks that's made up too. It's not. It's very real. Um, and that's your government at work. And to tie this into to tie this back into the faith, right? Christianity, or I'm gonna just say God, you know, Jesus Christ. Um, do you find it strange that a lot of people who were what we would call in today's society radical Christians, right? Where everything is blasphemy, right? Everything's black and white, which, you know, same critical thinking skills. You know, this is just how you interpret the Bible because I'm sitting here telling you how I interpret it. So, is the way you interpret it indoctrination, or is it you're really standing strictly on these things? And I respect it. I admire it, actually. Um, but at the same respect, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth, right? If you're claiming to be this radical Christian, right? So if a radical Christian was to come up to you and preach, this is blasphemy, that's blasphemy, you can't do this, you can't do that, no, 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 that's what Satan wants, and that's not God, that's not Jesus, right? But then they turn right back around and say they believe in time travel. They believe in them themselves being able to manipulate power sources or lights. Like their energy has a effect on lights, or their energy has an effect on nature, or their energy has an effect on other people around them. Well, from a radical Christian standpoint, that would be considered witchcraft, yeah. Possession, right? So this is what I mean when I say critical thinking skills. Pay attention closely to the things people say, and then pay attention closely to the things they say later, because it's important. Don't miss anything, because that lets you know you don't got to listen to what everybody else says. Your spiritual journey is your spiritual journey, your relationship between you and your God. That's it. Don't let nobody else tell you. Because as far as the Bible is concerned, and I'm gonna just stick on this because I'm gonna do a whole nother topic on the Bible and what I think about it and what I think about God and what I think about all of the faiths, all the religions. But the Bible only covers the Middle East and Northern Africa. And I feel like that's all I really gotta say. So as far as the Bible is concerned, you're only getting some representation there. You're not getting worldwide representation. You're only getting representation from the Middle East and Northern Africa. I'm not from the Middle East and I'm not from Northern Africa, but I've always been here, yeah. I don't think I'm an alien. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. You know what I mean? So don't be so afraid if you got theories or you got ideas or you're doing a lot of hard work, reading hours, listening to multiple sources for hours, and you're really passionate about these kind of things. This is the season for everybody to come out with their passion, to not be reserved, to not hold back. Because what do we got to lose at this point? You know what I'm saying? What's there to lose at this point? We're already being controlled. We're already being lied to. We're already being tortured slowly with whatever they feel like doing with the economy. Like for like COVID, like stay on that. You put people in the hardest times in history, some of the hardest times in history, and your solution is to turn back around and raise the prices of everything 5 and 10-fold. What kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? So can we just stop worshiping the government? It's like that love-hate thing, you know what I mean? And it's kind of disheartening to see so many people that claim to be rebels just worship the government so much. So many people whose history and heritage is, there's only two things you don't trust, and that's a politician and a lawyer. But here you are, trusting a politician who's a billionaire, who has a lot of lawyers on his payroll. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I think we all need to just take a step away, calm down, take a deep breath, turn our phones off, go out in nature for about a year, and then come back around and start to question some of the things that we believe. Because that's only when real change soaks in. When you can start to question what you believe or all the things you were told to believe, you'll see true change. You'll see the world in a whole different way. And it's crazy because as hard as it is, and I know because I've been through it, so as hard as it is, because it's torturous. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest with you. It's torturous. But when you get on the other side of it, I promise you it is the most freeing thing you'll ever feel in your entire life. And for the ones who are already there, I salute you. Amen. To the ones who have done it in the past, you're awesome. You know what I mean? You're a groundbreaker. Because we're not, like I said, nothing's new. So there's a lot of people, like I watch videos about, people from the 70s who made breakaway societies and nobody came. They made whole entire breakaway communities in the woods somewhere that was fully self-sufficient. And they're like, I'm just looking for somebody to come help me, come be a part of this. And nobody came. It's sad. But we don't have to stay stuck. You know what I mean? We don't have to stay that. We can learn our lesson and actually move into a world that's progressive, not in a world that's frozen still or going backwards, better yet. So this is just kind of what I think about the Mandela effect. I feel like I'm noticing something with this whole the world is speeding up thing as it relates to the Mandela effect, Chernobyl, and if you look at the timelines, like I said, go research for yourself. I encourage anybody to let me know what they think, because this is just a theory. This ain't nothing I'm really solidified on like I am with some of the other things I discussed in this video. I'm more in the this is interesting to me, the way this lines up a little bit. So I want to know what a lot of y'all think. And I looked up because I wanted to see, like, does anybody else think what I'm thinking about this as it relates to the nuclear energy and the Mandela effect, or Chernobyl and the Mandela effect, or the way some of our films have predicted nuclear energy reacting with time travel or dimensional shifts. I mean, we've seen it get represented that way a lot of times. So maybe there's something to it. And then you have Earth's, spinning faster. Our days are getting shorter. We had the most shortest days on record in 2020. So, I mean, it's a lot there to dig into if you want to look into it. But I just found it interesting, and I'd like to know what y'all think. Other than that, that's all I got for you. But yeah, just let me know. And be for yourself, you know what I mean? I saw this guy, I think his name's William Donahue. But he said in one of his seminars, he told his group, he said, take everything your parents taught you, take everything your school told you, take everything the church told you, throw it in the trash, start over, and learn everything for yourself and create your own identity and your own ideology. Try that. Because that's basically what I'm saying here, because it's clear as day that we've all been lied to, mostly. We've kind of never been told the truth.